Josephus shows that the 12 tribes of Israel are just a personification of the 12 zodiacal constellations. Antiquities of the Jews, Book 3, Chapter 7, Section 7. Reuben equals Aquarius because of the beginning of my strength. Unstable as water. Simon and Levi equals Gemini because of the twins of Gemini. Judah equals Leo because of the lion's whelp. Zebulun equals Libra because of who shall be far in haven of ships, or the ship sign, ark. Issachar equals Taurus because of strong ass, workhorse. Dan equals Scorpio because it is between Sagittarius and Capricornus. Gad equals Pisces because Gad is the reversal of Dag. A fish god. Asher equals Virgo because of rich food or fat bread. Naphtali equals Capricornus because he's a hind let loose. The goat. Joseph equals Sagittarius because he was fiercely attacked by archers. Benjamin equals Aries because the ravenous wolf who divides the spoils. 12 shows up again in 1 Kings chapter 7 verse 25. The sea stood on 12 bulls, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south and 3 facing east. This not only shows more personification of the 12 zodiacal constellations, but is another instance of flat earth. The sea stood on 12 bulls. And 1 Kings chapter 4 verse 7, Solomon had 12 district governors over all Israel, who supplied provisions for the king and the royal household. Each one had to provide supplies for 1 month in the year. Right before 1 Kings chapter 7 verse 25 is the mentioning of Pi in the Bible, and he made a molten sea, 10 cubits from the one brim to the other, it was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. I Kings 23. This is one of the only instances of mathematics mentioned in the Bible, other than just saying the word number. In Job chapter 36 verse 26, God is equated with infinity. Behold, God is great, and we know him not, neither can the number of his years be searched out. Well, God is supposed to be beyond finite numbers. Like in Psalms 115, God is being placed somewhere where he cannot be detected, in heaven or off to infinity. They do not want their God questioned. Every culture has a spectrum of people from left to right. I would call the left those who question ideas, and the right as those who don't. What happened with the Hebrews, is the northern Israelite left were conquered and taken away into slavery, leaving the southern Judahite. The northern Israelites were more moderate, willing to take in each other's gods and, from the southern Judahites, even atheist. As in Psalm chapter 14 verse 1, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. This did not happen with the Greeks. It almost happened. In fact, the battles the Greeks had with huge empires trying to stamp out the left are amongst the most famous in human history. There was the Battle of Marathon, where a Greek ran a marathon to warn and try to get other Greek city-states to join in the fight, only, when these other city-states arrived, they found the other Greeks had miraculously survived and held off the Persians. Then, there's the Battle of Thermopylae, where like 300 Spartans held off a massive Persian force. Interestingly, the right-wing Spartans were convinced to help the left-wing Athenians, at least for this battle. The Greeks also built trireme boats, and stopped another Persian force at sea. Xerxes I was the son of Cyrus the Great, who let the Judahites go after they were originally exiled. Cyrus the Great is mentioned as seeing eye to eye with the Hebrew God in 2 Chronicles 36-23. Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath the Lord, the God of heaven, given me, and he hath charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whosoever there is among you of all his people, the Lord, his God, be with him, let him go there, just like in the books of Kings. If the Judahite king, or northern Israelite allows Asherah and other gods to enter, they must be bad, but, if they destroy them, then they must be good. With the Judahite exile around 587 BC, the David covenant was broken. The Bible writers said the David covenant would last forever. 2 Samuel 7:13, He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Also in 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 16, 1 Kings chapter 9 verse 3, And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication, that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house, which thou hast built, to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. The David covenant and hereditary line was broken with the death of King Josiah by an Egyptian pharaoh Necho II, and the southern Hebrews, the Judahites, were exiled. The Bible writers blamed it on a great-great-grandfather of King Josiah, Manasseh. 2 Kings chapter 23 verse 26. Notwithstanding the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. Israel Finkelstein has recently shown the mention of the House of David on the Mesha stele is a mistranslation. See Restoring line 31 in the Mesha stele, the House of David, or Biblical Balak. As Israel Finkelstein shows in his The Bible Unearthed, most of the history, as presented in the Old Testament, all the way down to King David and Solomon is a later, 600 BC reality. King David and Solomon probably never existed. So, the Hebrew had gone through a lot before the classical Greeks. The southern Judahites were sent off to exile right at the same time Thales of Miletus toured Egypt and the Babylonians to dig out of the Dark Ages that came after the Bronze Age collapse, what knowledge he could find. This is the treasury of Atreus, or the tomb of Agamemnon. I show it as proof of the Greek Dark Ages after the Bronze Age collapse. It's Mycenaean Greek and was built 50 years before the Bronze Age collapse. It's a dome vault which is a generalization of the arch. Later classical Greeks did not know of the arch. They built with columns, like the Karnak columns I show at the beginning of this Gospel of Truth. Why? Because there was a Bronze Age collapse, and a Dark Ages before the classical Greeks that we usually talk about when we talk about the Greeks. The classical Greeks, where humanity first learned of deductive logic, and mathematics officially became the instrument to learn the universe, and humanity. And so, now we turn to discussing the second major culture to come out of the Bronze Age collapse. Greek mathematics really started before the Athens-Delian League and these great wars. But I have to wonder if the Greeks, like Thales and Pythagoras, who went traveling around Mesopotamia and Egypt, collecting all the knowledge, both mathematics and mythology, didn't sit well with the Persians. One thing is for certain, the Greeks were growing in power due to their growing technology. One of the greatest examples of this growing technological ability is the Tunnel of Samos. The Tunnel of Samos is a nearly mile-long aqueduct built in the 500 BC time. They used mathematics to figure out how to make a nearly straight tunnel through a small mountain. They kept track of right angles coming from two selected points of the mountain to cut. They kept track of horizontal and vertical lines, added and subtracted where appropriate to get the vertical and horizontal lines of a right angle. Then, the hypotenuse of this right angle is the straight line through the mountain.